Hey guys, I'm Michael and this is Donovan with Polestar, and today we're going to show you how to install a new water heater. Alright, so another key factor that we do here at Polestar to help our water heater jobs go more safely and smoothly is we always have at least two technicians and plumbers to help move the water heater from point A to point B, because they can weigh a lot. You can risk damaging the floors, the walls, and even your personal being. So we always want to make sure we have two guys moving the water heater, and we always use a dolly to go from point A to point B. Alright, so some of the issues with this water heater is that it's leaking at the top, and you can see that a lot of rust has formed from the continuous leaking of a fitting, and you can also see that the valve up top has been leaking as well. And once it starts leaking on your heater, it can rust out the top and cause issues with water coming out of your heater. Some other things to look for is water pooling around the top, or any discoloration caused by the flue not venting properly. Other things to look for is water running down the sides of the heater and also pooling around the bottom, like so. You can see that water has gotten down inside of the unit and is coming out as a rust color, which tells us that rust has formed on the inside, and which means that water has gotten in there as well. Alright, so one of the first things you want to do is you want to turn off the main water to the house, which is going to be in the basement, if you have one, or in the crawl space, or in a utility closet. So ours is under here, so we're just going to go ahead and turn it off. And then you want to go to a faucet at the lowest level and a faucet at the highest level, and go ahead and start draining the house from all the water, so you can cut in the pipes and not have any leaking going on. So one really important thing when you're doing any kind of job is floor care. You want to treat these people's homes as if it was your own. So one thing that we like to do is we wear shoe covers as protection, and then we also lay out tarps. So that way, if anything drips or leaks or falls, the floor and carpet is protected, and when we pull it up, it still looks as good as when we came. So we use a few tools here at Polestar to kind of make the job go more efficiently, and kind of help drain the water heater a little faster, because a lot of times, after time, the water heater gets sediment built up all in the bottom of it, and it makes it really hard for the water to get drained out. So what we have here, this is a water heater drainage pump, or it's a portable transfer pump. So what we do is we hook it up to the bottom of the heater, have a hose go to the pump, and then we have a hose connected to the discharge line, and we drain that straight into the floor drain or any other drain or outside that we need to hook it up to. So we'll go ahead and get that started now. So here's our new water heater. We are installing a 50-gallon made by A.O. Smith. So a few things after you unbox that you want to do is they have your warning label here for your gas. You can go ahead and take that out, and it has your lighting instructions on it. You can read over it and make sure you read all the warning labels. Another thing is on the bottom of these heaters there's a black screen that can kind of get out of place when you unbox them. So you want to make sure that after you unbox it, you check that screen and make sure it's flush and even with the rest of it. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and prep the top of the heater and get ready for installation. The way we'll do that is we'll put some thread sealant, and we use Teflon tape, and we'll go ahead and put it around the threads. Alright, so when you're wrapping your dielectric nipples, you're going to do 3 to 4 wraps. Depends on your comfort level. And so then, that way you can screw on your female fittings, and you'll be good to go and not have to worry about any leaks coming out later. So now we're going to go over the process of how we put our joints onto our pipe. So first thing you want to do is you want to take a section of pipe that you're going to use, make sure it's free of all nicks, burrs, dents, and And then what you want to do is you'll want to take a wire brush or some abrasive cloth and clean your pipe to make sure it's free of any residues or excess material that shouldn't be there. And then what we'll do is we'll take our fitting and we'll slide it on there until it clicks. Now, one thing that a lot of people like to do is they'll take their marker, and once they hold it down and make sure it's all the way in, they'll put a little mark so that way they can see and make sure that their fitting doesn't move. Alright, so another tool that we use here to make things a little bit more efficient and go a little quicker is the Pro Press. Now, it does take special fittings for the Pro Press, but it makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more efficient. Some companies solder, some people use shark bites and other compression fittings. Pro Press is a good way to go, because what you'll do is you'll take your fitting and you'll slide it all the way onto your pipe. And like I said earlier, you'll make a mark on your fitting, so after you press it, you'll make sure it won't move. So now I'll go ahead and show you how to press these. And once you hear that click, you can release the jaws, and then you have your fitting. And now what you want to make sure is you'll kind of pull on it and twist it and make sure that there's no movement in the joint. And if not, you're good to go, and you can keep pressing. All right, now that we got our tape on there, now we can go ahead and tighten down our female fittings, which we have here. And we used our Pro Press to secure them to the pipe. So now we'll go ahead and tighten those down. And when you tighten them down, you can go ahead and use a crescent wrench or any type of wrench that you want to use to tighten those down. Just be careful using anything with teeth, because sometimes it can tear up the fittings. Alright, so now we used our pump to drain our heater, and our heater is drained. So now what we want to do is make sure we go ahead and disconnect the gas, and then we can go ahead and disconnect the flue and cut the water lines loose from the heater as well. So you'll find your shutoff valve on your gas, and most of them are red or yellow handle, and they're a quarter turn. And so we have that off there. And then you'll come up here and go ahead and cut these loose. And then you can use your nut driver or impact driver and take out your screws for the flue and take that apart. So now we'll get to that. Alright, so our old heater is out. Now, one thing you always want to check is make sure, water heaters can be there for years, so sometimes things can get under there, around there, and you always want to make sure you clean up any excess water to prevent any mold buildup or anything like that. So you always want to make sure you wipe it down, sweep things up, and make sure it's a clean environment for the new one. Alright, now we got our new heater in here. Got our drops ready. So now what we'll have to do is Pro Press in our fittings. We'll go ahead and hook up a gas flex connector down there at the bottom, and we'll install our flue. Alright, so this is your expansion tank. This is a new safety device that they have made code recently. So what it is there's an air bladder in here that you air up to around the same pressure as the water pressure coming into the home. And what it does is that the bladder inside pushes against the incoming water pressure to help reduce the effect on the tank and save the tank from taking on any damage from that excess pressure. It mounts on the cold side of the heater, right above the inlet. We like to put it below the ball valve so it's serviceable. If the bladder ever fails, that way we can just turn off the ball valve and then replace it without having to shut off the whole water to the house. Alright, so now we got our heater in and the water back on. So first thing we want to do after we fill up the heater is go to the nearest bathtub and turn it on. And that'll help get rid of all the air in the lines, and also if there's any sediment built up, it'll come out of the bathtub spout rather than coming out in your sinks and clogging your aerators and in your toilets and clogging your fill valves. So we'll do that now. You want to go ahead and turn on both hot and cold to get the most air out of the lines you can. If they sputter at you, that's completely normal. That's just the air coming out of the water lines. And also, if you see any white foamy water or brown water, that's the sediment coming out. You want to let it run till it runs clean and runs free of any air bubbles. So it looks like we're good. Alright, and that's how to bleed the air. Alright, so here we got our finished product. We got our new ball valve up here. We got our new expansion tank, and all of our new fittings and pipe, and our new flue. And the one thing you want to check for when you first light your water heater, let it run for a few minutes, and then you want to put your hands up here around the top of the flue to make sure that it's not backdrafting. Backdrafting can cause carbon monoxide to enter the home, and it'll also cause that discoloration around the top that we saw earlier. And the next thing is we got our new shutoff down here with the new gas valve. Easy control scheme. It has a status light code. Turn this light off here, you can see this light flashing. Now that indicates that your gas valve is on and working. Then you have a dial here that you can set your temperature. And then you have a igniter button down here. And if you ever need to light your water heater, you'll turn this dial to pilot, and hold it in, and then click your igniter, and then your light will come back on. And once that, you can turn it to the desired temperature, and you'll be all set. And then we want to make sure we get our TMP dropped as well, because if your TMP ever goes off, you want to make sure that it goes directly to the floor and into the floor drain. And there you have the installation of a water heater.